Hi everyone, welcome to the Ladybug Demo. Here we go, got a couple of rods here. This is a Fetra medium red is what I'm using. I'm just going to build a little small gather here. With the medium red, you're going to have to work further out in the flame. It does like to boil a little bit if you get way up close to those candles. So you want to kind of, an over-oxidizing flame helps a little bit too. The more oxygen you get in there, the less it'll bubble. Alright, so there's many shapes here that we're creating. We're going to take it to the next level here a little bit. We're going to add some details like how to put legs on and stuff like that for the ladybug. But pretty much the same shape. We need a little round gather here. This is probably just a little bit bigger than pea size. Getting it nice and hot. Definitely want to make sure you don't boil it. So I'm just building it up just a little bit at a time. I'll let it calm down just a little bit, and I'm going to reach up there and I'm going to give it a little smash. I'm only smashing it about the same thickness as the rod. And now I'm going to take out those chill marks a little bit. Nice and easy. Alright, here I'm going to go ahead and shape out the section for the ladybug. You want to make sure you keep some heat in there. Remove all your tool marks, obviously. Now, while this is just a demo, I will offer an instructional on this as well, and it'll help you create the shape here and where to apply the heat and so forth, and how to maneuver it into shape, and what kind of shape it is to practice with. And there you go. So now I kind of got the shape I want. Kind of make sure I remove all my tool marks. I'm just going to build up a gather of black here. You definitely want to keep that paddle warm while you build up the gather. This gather's probably a little bit bigger than pea size. You want to fill up the cavity that I'm going to put this into. Just kind of building up together enough, big enough to fit inside this cavity here. You want to make sure you get enough glass to fill the cavity up, obviously. Again, I show that in the instructional how to do that. How much you approximately will need. Definitely want to make sure you keep this warm. Any fractures, you want it to marry up really well. You don't want any fractures. And I'll plop this right down inside there. And I'm kind of using my little knife here to finish the final shaping. I usually like to let gravity help me quite a bit. I don't like to use the tool as much as unless I have to. Or as very little as possible. You definitely don't want any undercuts here. Potential for fractures, so I'm just kind of filling in the cavity. And this section here is just the abdomen of the ladybug, and you'll need to make some embellishments on it to make it look realistic here in a minute. Trying to let that black just fill in all the cavity. Again, that was the Fetra black, if anybody was wanting to know. Try and make sure everything stays on center. Alright, here I'm going to go ahead and make the lines that I need for the abdomen. There's some little details. Now I'll make the line for the split of the wings for the ladybug. I got a little stringer of black here, and I'm going to place the little black dots on top of the ladybug here. I'm going to clean that stringer up a little bit. Just making sure it stays on center. Make sure you pump some heat into it. Want to keep it nice and warm. And then I'll place these dots right on top, symmetrically in place, where it kind of looks like it's got the little embellishments on it. Well, this is a pretty small ladybug. I mean, you can make them a little smaller too, but the bigger ones, you probably want to make sure that if you're gonna make one that's big, you want to make sure the dots are placed, in line with each other. Right here, I just put 5 dots on. I'm just gonna push them into the glass, make sure they're nice and symmetrical in place. If you need to move any of those dots, now's the time to do that. If you accidentally placed it in the wrong spot, peel that dot off, put a new one on, or move it around. Here I'm just kind of warming it up on top so I can straighten it out. You want to be careful warming that handle up a little bit. If you apply too much heat, it cools down too fast, it will fracture there and you'll lose your piece in the water, probably, is my luck. So anyway, here we go. We're going to place on a few more dots here on the other side of the wing. Alright, I'm just trying to press those dots in, make sure they're nice and straight. I'll build some core heat, get it nice and warm. And now I'll place a little section for each of the legs. And I'm going to do all the legs at one time. And then I'll be moving on to a handle too. We're going to use one of these legs for a handle. Preferably the one in the back, obviously. That way you're away from everything. So I'll place one little daub down and I'll pull it out to a little point almost. That way it sticks out and up from the piece. That way later on when you apply the heat to it, you're not applying any heat to the mass of glass there that'll fracture. So I give a little push and then pull it out. Nice little point. This is something that you can practice on. There's another one. Now I'll go into the next section and I'll go ahead and put a little dot there. It's kind of like pulling stringers out, except they're only about, a couple millimeters long. I try to get them all the same size, or pretty close. And here I'll place the last leg on a little bit, and that's the part where we will use the handle out. I'm just kind of bending this around to where it stays on center. I want this ladybug to be on center of the other rod too, so when I pull off the red, I'll have a nice little punty attachment to the front section. And now I'm going to burn this off. Be careful, you don't want any scuzz on this, so try to work as far up in the flame as you can, or pump some oxygen in there, or turn that flame down to a little pinpoint flame, you can kind of get the idea. Here I just kind of burned that off, and I'm going to go ahead and peel some of this glass off so that I got a nice clean section of glass on top, so that when I place the head on, it can actually be underneath. And then there's no overflow from the red. So you got to treat it kind of like it's a shell. I'm just peeling this glass off that I don't need. Nothing special here. Pulling this last little bit off. And now I need to build up a gather glass. Now I'm really not going back to any part of the back side of the body. I'm just kind of focusing right on the front where I need to place this head at for the ladybug. And so this is probably a little bit smaller than pea size, but you want to make sure that it's warm there. You don't want to attach the cold piece to warm glass. It will fracture. So you need to pump a little heat. And in the instructional, I'll show you guys where to put that heat at. This kind of gives you an idea right here. I'm going to make that attachment for the head. And then I'm going to terminate that and make a nice little round ball for the head. Now these look really elegant without the eyes too, so it's not necessary to put the eyes on it. I think it gives a little character to it, and adds a little bit more interest to the piece. But they do look just as elegant without the eyes. You can make them more realistic, obviously, too. Just get you out a little book with pictures and go from there. Alright, here I'm just kind of making sure that all the glass marries up and there's no undercuts here. Here I got a little stringer of white. That's a Fetra white too. I want the eye right to the side, a little bit high in the corner, but not too high. You still got to place some tentacles up there. I'll melt that in. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And I try to make them as symmetrical as possible. So I'll look at it straight on and I'll say, okay, that's where the eye needs to go. This is where it's key when you have a punty that's on straight. If your punty's crooked and so your piece is crooked, you'll place eyes on crooked. Nice little tidbit there. I'm pulling a little bit of glass out of that eye. Got a little too much on there from the other side. You want them symmetrical, obviously. So I'm just kind of melting them both in just a little bit. And now I'll get a black stringer and I'll go ahead and place a tiny little dot in the middle of the white. That way it looks like it's got a pupil. And this gives them a little character. I mean, obviously you can make googly-eyed ones if you want, or you can take a little eye marine and put it in there. Do that too. Lots of little things you can do here. You don't need a whole bunch, just very little. Now I'll melt that in a little bit. And then I'll do the other side. you see a little mistake that happened there. Let that cool down, and then all you gotta do is reach up there and fracture it off with a little pair of tweezers. So that happens from time to time. You'll get a little blob that'll fracture off and plop down on your piece. You'll be like, oh my goodness. But no worries. All you gotta do is let it cool down for a second. Reach up there with a pair of tweezers and break it off. And then I'm kind of cleaning that eyeball up just a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and make it nice and symmetrical, just like the other one. So there you have, you got a little extra tidbit there on how to fix something. So here now I'm just keeping the head warm. I'm not going back to that body. I'm letting that body cool down while I work the front side of it. So I went from the admin all the way to the legs, got those worked out, because those legs I can come back to and we can add more to them. And here I'm going to go ahead and pull out the tentacle on one side, and I'll make a nice little wrap around for it, and I'll do the same thing for the other side. That's why you need your eyes spread far enough down that you can reach in there with this tiny flame here. And here I went ahead and kind of got a little bit crazy and went ahead and got too much of that tentacle in there. So what we'll do is we kind of just pull it off and we start over again. So here I decided I'm going to go ahead and turn down my flame this time, since I'm kind of have a little shakiness going on. So you gotta kind of have to play with that. Sometimes I get a little too much sugar and I'm shaking all day long. You know, get a little too much coffee sometimes. So I'm making two little nubs now instead of just trying to pull one out. And so I'll touch down. I'm just going to pull up slightly, and then now I can kind of stretch it out if I need to. So I got two little nubs, and then now I can kind of go ahead and come back and marry those two up and stretch them out the way I need them. And they're spread far enough apart that they're not touching the eyes, and they're up forward. So I need to keep a little heat in there while I'm still working it. And so I'll reach up on one and then pull it out a little bit. You want to keep the same size. So I'm just kind of stretching it out and pulling it just like you would a stringer. Except this one's only about an inch long or so. Doing the same thing for the other side. And you want to pull them about the same size. And you can always clean them up and everything. You can make them longer if you need to, or shorter. But here I got a nice little pinpoint flame so I can get in there and maneuver it wherever I need to. So I made one turn a little bit, and now I'm going to just let gravity kind of help me a little bit on the other one, and then just kind of help it along with the black a little bit. Working these tiny little stringers that don't take much heat to maneuver them into place. Just kind of getting them to where I like them. And I'll pull them to a nice little point on the very ends. You can obviously, make a full circle with these if you wanted to, or something like that. I like them facing forward a little bit. Some people like them standing straight up. Just all depends on what you want to do. So there we go. Clean them up a little bit. And those antennas are working pretty good. And so at this point, you can do a couple different things. You can let those tentacles cool down a little bit. You can just place it off onto the fiber blanket. Or you can do like I do, and you can work on the feet. Once you get really good at those legs, then you can pull them out a little at a time. But eventually, when you get to this part, you're going to want to go slow and nice and easy. Practice these legs is key. In my instructional video, I'll show you how to practice these legs so that you can come to this piece and you'll be able to finish it out. So here I'm just kind of pulling one leg at a time. I'm starting with the front right side of the leg as you face it, and then I'll do the front left side, and I'm just working my way backwards towards the punty. At some point in time, I'm going to have to take that off there and hold it with my hand, so you need to make sure it's cool enough. So sometimes you can always come back to this section. It's not a huge deal. You can lay it down at this time, then come back to it later. So here what I'm doing is I'm just moving forward, and I'm just putting these legs on one at a time. And you want to be careful. You only want to warm up the little tip of the leg so that you can actually marry it together and then pull it out. This is going to take some practice. A lot of people struggle with these legs, and they burn them off or they crack their piece because they don't know where to position the piece at in the flame. And so here I am pulling the fourth leg out here to the side, and we're going to go ahead and burn that off. Everybody's always asked me, how thick are those legs? And you don't want them to be like 3 millimeters thick, but you don't want them to be super thin that they fracture either. I like about 1 millimeter. 2 millimeters probably max, but you don't want them super thick. I mean, obviously it does make the piece stronger, but it looks more clumsy looking. Alright, so I'm pulling this out, and there's the second section of the legs. And now I'll do the final section. I'm saving that last one where the punty is for the last. And I'll do it all at one time. So now I'm going to pull out the legs, pull them down, and then we're going to give them the little flare out. And then a little point. And I'll do each one of these separate again. So I put the second section on, then I'll go back and do this third section last. That way they're all done symmetrically, and I can kind of keep an eye on how much glass I need to make sure all the feet touch the surface, so that when they stand up, you don't have one foot higher than the other. Although you may like that look, who knows? You might want to make it look like it's walking, I guess. But I always like to make sure all the feet are touching. That way it has a nice sturdy point to stand on. And so I'm just kind of gauging it here at this point, just kind of looking at, see what I need, how much I need to pull out, and so forth. Like I said, these legs are probably the hardest to do. This will definitely push your skill level quite a bit. Now I'm kind of getting done with that front one. I'm going to put the next one on. Notice I'm only heating up just a little section. And now I'll do probably the last leg here, I think is the last one. And then I'll work on the leg with the punty. At this point, your piece is pretty much cooled down by this time, and you can grab it by the tentacles on the top. That's why I kind of like keeping them a little thicker, because that's where I like to grab it at. That way I can maneuver around the flame to where I need it. And so I can't, check the levelness of it just yet. I have to get that last punty off for sure. Right here, I'm just kind of cleaning up the little toes. I'm trying to gauge it to where I would know how flat they sit down. And so here I'm going to go ahead and grab it. Definitely want to, give it a little touch test. Make sure it's not still warm, because you will burn your fingers if you grab that thing when it's hot. So that's why I tell everybody you can let it cool off in the fiber blanket for a little while. That way you can grab it by the tentacles. And then I'm going to go ahead and burn off that little section. This is probably the part where everybody asks me from the previous videos, how do I remove that punty? And that's how you do it right there. Not nothing to it. You could go ahead and nip it with a pair of nippers, but I like the flame just in case. Those nippers kind of, I hear it cracking that glass, kind of gives you a little scare. But here I'm kind of melting the leg in where I think I need it. I'm going to go ahead and I have to do 2 sections, pull it out to the side and then down, make the loop again. So I'm just kind of peeling some off here where I think I need it. Like I said in the instructional, I teach you guys how to, or show you guys how to practice these legs without making the piece. So it breaks it down into little bite-sized chunks for everybody. And so look, I'm peeling it off. I'll place this last little leg on. Here I'm going to pull it out to the side. And then down, I'll pull it down and then fix the toes. And then I'll check to make sure all the feet touch the ground. And depending on which leg you have to fix or whatever, you kind of want to focus the heat, where you can maneuver the legs where you need it at. There we go, I'm just cleaning up the toes there. And now I'm checking to make sure all the legs touch the ground. And so I'll look at it. And then now I'll put it on a little marker to show you guys. Nice and straight. If one of the legs don't touch, this is where you'll need to fix them. And you can show I pointed out that front leg is not touching. So I got to do a couple of different things here. I can either shorten all of them on that one side to match that side, but then you take the chance that the thing will set lopsided. Or you fix one by maneuvering the knee. And so I'm just going to heat it up here. And this will definitely take some practice fixing these legs like this. So I'm kind of trying to maneuver it into place. I'm keeping my rod cold while I kind of push it into place where I need it at or pull it out. And so there I'm going to go ahead and fix it, make it a little longer, and then pull out the toe. And I'm going to set it down that marker one more time, make sure I like it. And then I'll raise it up here if I like it and show you guys. I still got that pinpoint flame, so yep, all the toes look pretty even now. I want to work on one more toe here on the one side. That middle toe didn't look like it was it was too long, so I'm pulling that toe a little shorter. And there we have it. Pull that little toe out, burn it off, check it again, see what all you need to do to make the maneuvers to get all the legs to touch. And then I'll go ahead and check it. All looks good, it looks like. All the toes are touching. Make sure it stands straight up and you don't have one side lopsided or anything. And that's pretty much the demo. There's your little ladybug. Alrighty, thanks for watching the video. If you guys go out to Facebook or any social media of mine and give me a like, that'd be great. Again, this video will go out on YouTube in about 3 to 4 months, and then you guys can watch it out there too as well. And that concludes it. I thank everybody for joining, and we'll see you next time.